For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Morning, welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
In recent weeks, we have seen a range of developments: the Marikana report, the alleged SACP distancing itself from Zuma, and now the leaked documents of the misgivings about the state of the alliance and the attacks on the courts. What do all of these developments portend?
Yeah, I think some of these things are denied, like the SACP denies that they're unhappy with Zuma, although what was quoted does sound fairly authentic. It may not be blatant Zimande, but it sounded fairly authentic. But what I think we're seeing is instability, and all of these things, there's incredible capacity to mess things up. For example, with the Marikana report, it is so easy to have given the families the notice that they asked for, and they just didn't do it. And there are these things, apart from Nkandla and everything else, just to observe certain courtesies that would not have, to avoid upsetting families, they don't do it. But these things that you referred to, there are a whole lot of other things. For example, the failure to hold Youth League conference, Women's League conference, eThekwini regional conference. And one gets a sense that things are falling apart in some ways, like COSATU has more or less imploded. But, and the SACP, it may exist, it may have learned documents, but insofar as it being an independent organization, doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Everything they do, the main things they do, are really to defend Zuma and to defend Nkandla and things like that. But what is it that's being defended? What is it that exists anymore? And there used to be the saying that the alliance is the political center, but the alliance hasn't met for 2 years. Now, when the ANC was unbanned, the alliance met as 3 organizations. What I think has changed, and people don't take this adequately into account, is that when the SACP and COSATU meet with the ANC, they meet primarily with a government, an unequal partner. The ANC and government the differences seem to be blurred. Some people say, everything is decided at Luthuli House. Nothing will happen without Mantashe giving his approval. That's what someone said in the city press. Now, it may be true that some appointments and things like that, Luthuli House has a lot to say with it. But on a day-to-day basis, when they make policy, ministers don't go back to Luthuli House. They go to specialists, and these specialists have a lot to say with what policy development is. And it may be that the ANC at one of its conferences has said we need new legislation on this, that and the other, and they may be in spirit carrying that out. In many cases, they just initiate things because government can't stop and go back with everything. It has to make decisions supposedly in line with what the ANC believes, but has to make decisions on a daily basis. Now, consequently, I think there was a misunderstanding by many people in the media about what was the meaning of Paul Mashatile saying that the Minister of Police had made a report which had not been in front of the ANC. and consequently it didn't have any status for him in the ANC. Now, what I think Paul Mashatile was doing, he wasn't a voice of conscience, as some people say. He wasn't speaking truth to power, although some people would say in this current situation, anyone who voices anything like that is being courageous. What I think he was saying is there is government and there's ANC. And the government minister did this, but it has not come before the ANC National Executive. Now that is something that is, let's say, out of date these days, that you put things before the ANC. Since here, a lot of things have happened with government and they've never gone to the ANC. So he's reasserting there that the organization has some importance. It's not simply submerged within the ANC. Now, Musi Maimane, when he was on the show with him, missed the point, because all he did was saying, well, you didn't say anything in Parliament and all of that. Question is not really whether Mashatile is consistent or whatever it is. The question is there a separate organization which enters into alliance with COSATU and SACP? Now that is something that has disappeared in my view. And all this instability to which you refer is not political instability in so far as the ANC, SACP Youth League. It's really no one can say that the differences that they want to sort out, the issues that are stopping the Youth League from meeting, or the Women's League. The Women's League, it's got nothing to do with feminism. The Youth League has got nothing to do with how you approach the road ahead. All of this is really the politics of spoils, who will benefit from things. And I think that it's possible that COSATU could collapse more or less. So these things may not be political, but there is a level of disintegration in my view.
And now, do any of these developments provide an opening for opposition parties?
Well, you know, if you have this level of disarray, even when they do vote as one person in Parliament, you don't get a sense of people having interesting ideas that they're putting before the public. But even on critical issues, they don't always speak with one voice. Like Lindiwe Zulu said that they would never have arrested a sitting head of state. Now, Jeff Radebe on Monday or Tuesday distanced himself from that. So these people, you get the impression of there's chaos, but I don't think the DA will benefit from this, because in the eyes of most people who vote, the DA remains a white party, whether they've got an African as head or not. And it is, even if they've got an African as head, they see it as unsympathetic to the poor, whereas the ANC they see as responsible for social grants, which is keeping a lot of people out of absolute poverty. There are these other developments, like the NUMSA breakaway and the NUMSA Initiate United Front. Now, the United Front was supposed to launch last weekend, and it didn't launch. I've never seen a reason why. And I think what I think we have to ask with this United Front is, who is part of this United Front? Is it NGOs? Is it influential individuals? Or are there social movements? If there are social movements, who are the social movements? Who funds the social movements? And which ones don't they fund? Because to set up organizations or to help organizations, you need funding. And it's not clear to me that they're not really clear, that they're clear about the difference between a left party and a United Front. Because some of their statements say this United Front will be a step towards socialism. Now, I feel if you are concerned about the grievances that people have, many of those people may not want socialism or articulate that as one of their reasons. So the problem that we have is that there is not an opposition party that appeals to people who are poor, but secondly, these other developments are not really clear and they do not seem to be organized around people's real grievances. As far as I'm aware, if they have, it's a secret. They've left out Abakhlali for one. Thank you.
Thanks. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about understanding flux in the current SA political scene.